Welcome to the In-Game Boss Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Evans, along with my co-host, Jaron Williams.
Yeah, what's up?
The evil of Coup.
Yes.
So, now, for my listeners, before I introduce some fantastic guys, remember, we do an arcade show.
Oh.
Right on YouTube. It's called The Cabinet Sessions. We have Ninja Warriors that just came out.
Yes.
If you're feeling Captain America, we got that too.
Oh, yeah.
If you feel like being a ninja, but also a baseball man, Ninja Baseball Batman's on there too. All you have to go to YouTube, just search for In-Game Boss Program, and there we are. Check it all out. It always comes out the day after our show's posts for this one.
Oh,
okay?
excellent.
Yes. And so far, the Ninja Warrior is probably one of my favorite ones. Especially there's a scene where I fall off a plane in a mid-discussion, so it's hilarious. But enough of that. We're here because this is a very special episode. This is our very first guest from another podcast coming on this show particularly. Now, let me tell you the story how I met them. When I was working at this retirement home, I was in the search for just trying to find new gaming podcasts that were kind of on the rise. So, and this one came up in my radar, and I gave it a listen to. Totally thought there was 3 people when I first started. But, I heard them talk, and I think the first episode, I believe I heard not Sonic the Mesh one, but the one before, I believe. I left a comment on y'all, so whatever the episode that is. But, these two were hilarious. They cracked me up. Didn't know they do Twitch Live on their recording.
Okay.
If I'm correct, they do Twitch Live, and then you guys use that audio, the one you post on Podbean, correct?
Yes. In fact, we just have a quick little setup with our interfaces, and we record right through Streamlabs. I capture his audio, and it's so easy to do. I've been doing podcasting for 5 years now, in some sort
Awesome.
or another, and this has been, it's almost like once you get it down to a science, you're just like, where's this been my whole life? It's like you go from dial-up internet to what we have now with the whole fiber wire. It's like, oh man, this is so much faster.
And that's the sound of Branden. And along with Branden is Mr. Mike. Mike, how you doing?
How's it going? I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we're excited for, I believe, what's the name of the podcast you're on?
It is.
Game Addicts.
Yeah, Game Addicts Podcast.
Game Addicts podcast.
Yeah.
We do a little crossover.
Right, there you go. And so, guys, once again, thank you so much for making the time. Thanks for reaching out. Now, let me tell you, I cannot message y'all through the computer of Podbean. I have to do it on the phone to reach y'all. And I was like, who set this up? That was terrible. And so I tried to reach out to y'all. I'm glad you guys had a chance to read the comments on there. And then if not, I was going to try to reach y'all on Twitter and whatnot. I was going to say something.
Yeah.
Send some snail mail.
Right. So before we get to know what they are, let's talk about the games that we've been playing. So I want to start with Branden here. Branden, what games have you been playing lately?
So here lately, I haven't had a lot of time to play due to work, and
And family.
doing all that stuff. But I have been streaming and posting some video up. I have decided to play one of my favorite game series of all time for the stream, and a game I haven't played in a good while, probably for a good 4 or 5 years, and that's the original Mass Effect.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So for Mass Effect, so how many times have you beat that game?
Yeah. How
Okay,
many
you can
times
stop
have
there.
you
It means a lot
completely went through the whole
when you
thing?
chuckle at something, right? So going back to it, what do you think you always find something new every time you replay it, or hey, I just love this game so much I know this like the back of my hand?
It's a mixture of both, because there's so many things that I have found, and then there's little tiny things, little details, probably more so in 2 and 3.
Okay.
But it's those little. It's like sitting there and and finally finding in Mass Effect 3. It's that billboard for Blasto, the Hanar Spectre, and then you just have like a whole 11-minute spiel of a trailer for Blasto where you just get different clips of it. It's like Blasto is the Hanar Spectre, and then his partner is this Elcor, and it's like Lethal Weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
So out of those 3, which one is your favorite? I think it's everybody's, because Mass Effect 2 just reminds me of we're getting the boys back together for a moment. It's like the Magnificent Seven kind of feel.
The pacing was just better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just I really like all the characters in their own unique ways, and I like where you do the special missions to kind of get that full trust they're with you to the end kind of
they'll
thing.
Survive.
Yeah, per se. But no, even if you get everybody's trust, man, like if your ship's not ready or anything like that,
Yeah.
But I tell people when you play Mass Effect 2, you got to go in blind. You can't well, because the final part is the part, right?
Yeah.
If you read ahead and what it is, then you already know what's going to happen. But when I play blind, I lost people like, oh, that's one of my favorite characters. That's the moment you want. That's the
enough,
moment
yeah,
you
yeah.
want.
I was a shameless completionist. It's like, nope, nobody dies. Everybody lives. I want everything.
So, were you managed to get through Andromeda?
Yes, I did, and I actually
Congratulations.
Yeah, I enjoyed it more than most.
Right.
Now, what I will say is that I felt like Andromeda was it was afflicted by the idea of like having too much to do, and it was too repetitive. The base story got kind of good at some point, and I felt like it was a good starting spot. They could take the story from here and do a second one and really build on what they've established. It was really hard for them in some ways. Of course, that game has a story development cycle, but yeah, to say the least, right? But when you're looking at something like just on a base level, how hard it is to start something in this universe that is not affected by the end of 3 and to essentially start all over again, I feel like they did a good job at getting a good start. And now it seems like we may never get another thing, because I was so enthralled at one point of thinking, where is this going to go after this,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, my question is for you is, if you were the one working on that game, what are 2 things you would try to change to make that game more successful?
Mass Effect Andromeda, what would I change for the original Mass Effect Andromeda? Well, first of all, as much as exploring is awesome, I'm reminded of how awesome it is while I'm starting to replay the original Mass Effect, how awesome it is and how tedious it is. I would try to find a balance. I wouldn't make it to where you have missions where you have to go all the way back to a place, get back in your vehicle, drive halfway across the map to do one little thing, to get this one thing, to go all the way back and go up back into the ship and go to this other planet, to go back to that other planet, drive halfway across that map. It was too much separating the good parts of the story. Whereas I feel like, I'm not saying copy and paste from Mass Effect 1, but how it found a balance between the exploration and the pace of its story.
Okay. Mike, have you played any of the Mass Effect?
Only 3.
Only 3. Wow, that is a good entry for you.
I played 3 and then Andromeda, and he talked me into 3, and I just have not set back and went 1 all the way through.
Okay.
I'm a big multiplayer guy, so I pretty much, when we got the game, he started the story, and I just went straight to multiplayer to figure out what I wanted to do, because I knew nothing other than the 20-some hours of discussion that Branden gave me at work.
So before we get to Mike's games, Branden, is there any other games have you been jumping into, or has Mass Effect been your focus?
That's kind of been my main focus, yeah. Otherwise, just a quick blip of introducing my 4-year-old to like the loves of the NES and Mario and Excitebike and things like that. We've been
Which Mario? Which
original Mario. Start him off on that.
Oh, okay. All right, start from the beginning. Okay, nice.
Yes.
Mike, buddy, what have you been playing?
I have been mixing between Apex and Mario Maker too.
Okay, so Apex, new character came out. I don't have
Yep.
the name. So
Watkins.
okay.
Watson.
So how is she compared to everybody else? Is she a good pick? Is she kind of lacking? Is she?
It all depends. I mean, the game, usually you play the game, it's fast-paced. You don't stay in one place too long. That character is kind of designed for you to stay in that place for a long time.
Okay.
And
Late meta.
everybody I play with, I just drop in randoms, and everybody's like, they want to move. They don't want to stay in a place. They just want to move. So
Okay. How many
personally play style.
How many matches have you won in Apex? I only won one,
Not very
and I'm
many.
proud of that
I'm not
one.
very good. I'm not very good. I'm not that great. I probably won a handful of 20.
Oh, you make it sound like it was nothing. Just 20.
Well,
I'm proud of my
I've also
one.
played a lot, and I pretty much got carried most of those games.
Okay.
So
Victory's still a victory.
Yeah, but now,
yes.
but now they're hitting that policy where like you'll get punished if you're piggybacking. You know, if you're like if you're going with the team, but you're not like shooting or you're not doing anything, you're just sitting there. you can get almost banned for that now. So like,
Wow.
I don't know. Have you seen that in your experience? Have you seen people just kind of tag along but don't do anything?
No, most of the time I'm the one trying to keep up with everyone else because they're just bolting. And I've had matches where we've gone through, and I can't get there. They're literally high-speed characters, and they're gone. And I'm still looting because I don't have the maps memorized.
Right.
So I'm not a big Battle Royale player at all. I absolutely hate the fact of being surrounded 24/7.
Right.
But
right. Now,
game
is this your first?
is phenomenal.
Is this your first BR? Or have you played like Fortnite and PUBG?
I played Fortnite for maybe 20 hours, and I was like, okay, not for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I would make it to the end. Almost every match, I would make it to the end of Fortnite, and I would get killed by a rocket launcher, and I was like, well, okay.
So what multiplayer games do you actually enjoy?
At this point, I'm not playing any because I play, well, I guess that's wrong. Battlefront 2. I play a lot of Battlefront 2.
Okay.
I picked Anthem up. we won't open that jar. That's very disappointing.
I don't want to
Put it right
disappoint you
back
here,
down.
but Branden looked like he really laughed really hard at that. So
It's that. The game. I'm gonna do my little quick pick. The game plays phenomenally. It looks phenomenal. There's just no substance.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not there.
Mm-hmm.
So I got it for free when I built my computer, and I was like, yeah, I'll play it. And I lasted 100 hours. I put 100 hours in it.
Okay.
And while I was doing story stuff, it's like, hey, do this. So I went and did all this stuff. It took me an hour, and it gave me stuff that I should have got within the first 5 minutes of the story.
Mm-hmm.
It gave it to me after 100 hours into this game, and I literally put the controller down. I was like, all right, I'm done. That's stuff that should have been explained. It's explaining the world to you after you've already been in the world.
So, Mike, we actually talked about Anthem a couple episodes ago, and I want to ask you this. Do you think this game hurts BioWare really bad, or do you think that BioWare can recover from this, like, if they decide to make the next game in their entry? Either it's Anthem or whatever it is.
I think that this Anthem game is going to shine over in the next Mass Effect game, whatever it is, because Anthem is the best Iron Man game ever made. It is phenomenal. It plays. I love playing it. I really do love the gameplay, the look of the world. It's all phenomenal, but there's just no story. So I'm hoping that the devs take this and they're like, okay, we did awesome here. Let's just take this, put it over here in a Mass Effect story, and that's what they need to do.
Okay. All right. Jaron.
Yes.
Now, you got a game, but you won't be able to talk about it until the next episode because I love to hear it, but you got the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, the Black Order.
Yes, just came in the mail. But it's still in cellophane wrapper. I might try and tear into it this weekend.
Okay.
But aside from that, I actually picked up a Bloodstained Curse of the Moon because I want to play through that before I start Ritual of the Night. I'm liking it. It's definitely totally Castlevania 3.
Oh, hands down.
But it's much more forgiving. And I do like how the bosses try and kamikaze you after you beat them.
How far did you get?
I got past the Bloody Mary chick. I got past her.
Okay.
So I don't know how long the game is, but I'm completing levels like every.
I think it's only
10
5.
Yeah,
it's a very short game.
I think it's on stage. No, I know it's more than 5. It's like stage 7 because you move to a separate map where I'm going up the castle or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it. And I'm already figuring out some strategies.
You know, my favorite fight is so far. It's the Gold Room with the.
Oh yeah,
I just like that fight in general.
Yeah,
it's just a cool special effect, especially you have to hit the money so you can climb up and hit him in the face. I thought it was cool. Sadly, that game would probably break an NES console because like the game looks pretty, but man, It's too pretty for that thing. It
Yeah.
wouldn't hold it.
too
Especially that
responsive.
animation. Especially the animation and everything like that.
Yeah.
Are you guys Castlevania fans at all?
Yeah.
There
yeah,
we go.
I haven't played anything past one of the ones on the Game Boy Advance, and I can't remember which one.
You got Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance, and Era of Sorrows.
Yeah,
Harmony
yeah.
of Dissonance was the last one I played. So like,
Okay.
I missed out on like all like the ones after that, and Bloodstained really caught my eye, and I cannot wait to pick that game up. And then of course, just as was mentioned, that little cool old school version, that callback to Dracula 3, which is of course which was his favorite. I can't remember his name now.
Igarashi?
His he said that was his favorite old school Castlevania game because I mean obviously we all know what he's famous for developing. So everything leading up to that, I was just so excited when they revealed that because they said they would reach it as a stretch goal, and then it was like just as with a lot of different Kickstarters in projects, like you don't hear anything for a long time. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, here it is. And you're like, whoa, I forgot about you entirely.
That's why I hope, like, Konami, they're on this little collection bus right now.
Yeah.
So if they do a GBA edition for just Nintendo Switch to get all the Game Boy Advances on there, because the DS ain't going to make it on there, I don't think.
It's going to be different. I mean, it's not impossible. I mean,
It's not. If you want to turn it sideways.
well, The World Ends With You got remixed.
That's
came
true.
On the Switch.
That's true. They could do that. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
Portrait
You're right.
of Ruin and the other two.
Portrait of Ruin is fantastic. That's one of my favorite ones. A lot of people forget that that's like the sequel to the Sega Genesis one.
Oh, Bloodlines?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, Portrait of
Okay.
Ruins. Yeah,
All right.
it's phenomenal. The one I haven't got the chance to play is the Order of.
Order of Ecclesia?
Yeah, I have
Okay.
it, but I haven't gone in that one.
I'm on the hunt for the rest of the GBA games. I have Circle of the Moon. I got to find the other GBA games, the DS games. But right now, people are wanting way too much for them.
Right.
Way too much. $50 to $130. I was like, nope.
Right, I ain't that hungry.
No.
I ain't that hungry. Turn that Duran Duran song off. I ain't hungry like
Yeah,
that.
it's like, no. But yeah, I didn't even get into Castlevania until the last like handful of years. I played a little bit on the Sega Genesis back in the day and Super Nintendo, Super Castlevania 4, but I didn't really get into it until a handful of years ago.
Okay.
And then the Netflix series really stoked my desire to play it again.
I need to finish the second season. I haven't
Oh,
finished it.
dude.
It's
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your homework.
Oh, well, I got the weekend off. I'll have to play some catch up.
Don't worry. It's only like what, 7 episodes in season 2, 7 or 8 episodes.
Yeah, I feel like they're just doubling as they go. By
Yeah.
the same.
You'll be able to knock it out. No
Yeah,
problem.
yeah. So, anything else have you been playing?
Let's see. It's mostly been that. I've tried a little bit of XCOM 2. That's so like Brandon's my Mass Effect is his. XCOM is my my go back to and play again and again and again. I love XCOM, the newer ones, XCOM 1 and XCOM 2, and making my friends the soldiers, so I have to keep them alive.
Yeah. So I almost done with Iconoclash, and for people that don't know, that's it's a 2D Metroidvania game. You've probably seen it with this girl with yellow hair, but her power is like a wrench.
Yeah.
So that game is just phenomenal, man. Like, it's such a callback to the old Sega games to me. Like, like I said, Gunstar Heroes and stuff like that. And the only reason why is because when I showed you it, like, no other game would have bushes made out of square except Sega would do something like that. Or I have the backgrounds that's like very like diamond shapes and stuff like that,
Yeah.
like kind of like Sonic's backgrounds sometimes and everything. But that one I've been playing. I actually trying to get through Divinity 2, taking my time with it. That's a very deep RPG game. If you have time, you should definitely give it a try, but take your time because like anything you think you can't do in that game, you can do it. Like, I'll give you one example. We were fighting this character and this character bled out.
Yeah.
And you probably didn't know this, but that blood can still be useful. So you can actually use lightning, shock the blood, and whoever steps in the blood can still get electrocuted. Like, it's stuff like that. It's like, holy crap. And the crazy part is, like, she was on the stairs, so the blood is just pouring down the stairs.
Nice.
Like, it's just that logic. Like it's just crazy. It's a very in-depth game.
I have it installed. I haven't started it up yet. I grabbed it on that Steam sale, so it's on my list. Everything's on my list. Work, but aside from work and family, everything's on my list.
Right.
The struggle's real, huh?
And then I still dip in Overwatch time to time with some buddies. We try to play once a week. Just to get a little bit in there.
Yeah.
Still trying to get through Borderlands 2. John, the DLC.
finish that.
The DLC. Sorry, I beat the game before, but the DLC we're trying to get through. We're 4 of 6. So we're gonna get there, and
much.
yeah, right. But the one game I actually got, I can't wait to get it, is called Sundred, I think it's called, or Sundered. Sorry, Sundered,
Okay.
from the people that made Jotun, the Viking game, and you could tell because the animation looks like something from the old animation movie like Heavy Metal.
Yeah.
It's like kind of that animation style. The artwork is beautiful. Like it's not like Cuphead level beautiful, but it's beautiful in its own way.
Okay.
So I'm very, very excited about that. But as you know, this is a podcast where we talk about games because we love video games. But the goal is to challenge not only us on certain topics, but to our listeners. So anytime you guys have a comment or anything you want to say, leave a review, all that stuff, make sure you visit us on our YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, and of course Podbean. Even though I said it twice, I want to make sure everybody knows Podbean is the spot.
Facebook's also the place,
Oh, yeah, Facebook and Twitter. So, just make sure you look for the In-Game Boss program. Anything else you want to say, any other questions you want to get to know, you can always visit Game Addict Podcast, and they're on Facebook and Twitter, if I'm correct. Yeah, so definitely check them out. But that's the thing, though. Who is Game Addict Podcast? So let's get to know these people, right?
Who are you?
So, Mike and Branden, take your sweet time and let our listeners know where y'all from, how the show gets started, and what inspired you to even go podcasting in the first place? Take your time.
Well, all right. So we are in the heart of Indiana. We're just two local Midwest dudes that like video games and talk about them on a daily basis, whether it's big news, small news, old news. It doesn't matter. We try to keep current.
Basically, our entire day is a podcast because we work together almost all day, at least 4 to 6 hours a day.
Okay.
So we literally just do a podcast every day.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
I had been doing podcasts, as I said, for a few years with a different podcast, and in that podcast, we talked about comic books, movies, and all that kind of stuff, and we talked about games every once in a while, and we had talked about maybe splintering off and doing some other like topic specific podcasts. And at mine, I'm like, it's got to be video games. Like I got into podcasting to talk about video games at some point. Like this is what I wanted to do, and so when I started thinking of like an outlet for that, Mike's the first person I thought of. I'm like, I talk to you about video games more than anybody, and also when he said that every day is a podcast, literally our best podcasts are those podcasts. Like never the ones that we record. It's always those and it's funny because there was just like a few weeks ago we had a discussion/argument about the Final Fantasy VII remake. I can't even remember what it was about, but I remember.
Oh no, we were literally pointing out like where they need to stop. Where is it going to begin the next?
I know exactly
what
what you guys talking about.
we
had that discussion too.
Where do they go from there? What are they going to add in? What's going to be new? How this needs to be like. We were literally just taking a string and we were doing like the detective. We had a freaking map up. We had a thing in the center, and we were just pinning ideas everywhere.
So hang on, pause on that. My thought was it's going to stop after the motorcycle scene.
Yep.
That's where I thought it was going to stop. Was that any of y'all's choices where you think it was going to stop at, or did you guys have different ideas where you thought it was going to stop at?
Well, we had separate, different, like obviously we now know where it kind of stops and where it's going to encapsulate just Midgard, but we were thinking, all right, how do you tell the first part of that story, and how do you limit the cast? Because there's such a big cast and there's so many characters. It's like, well, if you stop it here, at least you get to Yuffie or Sid, and it's like, well, then you just get them. Then how do they have to rearrange that? We were literally there were other aspects of the conversation that I can't remember that almost got heated. Like I remember we were just like going back and forth and joking around, but it just got to a point where him and I disagree on a lot of things, but it's never a point of like, no, dude, that's not how this is gonna go. And I just remember thinking we have to talk about this on the podcast, and literally when we did the podcast, we did not talk about it.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't.
Okay. Continue.
So back to the story. Me and him decided to start doing a podcast. At first, it was just exclusively like on YouTube. Once or twice a month, whenever we could do it. And then we did that for probably about 8 months. And then we got our own feed on Podbean and said we want to start going every week. And literally that was in like December 2016. And we've been doing that ever since, shifting to bi-weekly if our schedules ever need it. Work schedules get hectic and life happens as well. But no, we try to keep it about once a week. There's usually something to talk about. And if there's no news, that's when we throw in a retrospective. Let's talk about everything. Like Super Nintendo, like what is the history of the system? What's our favorite games, our favorite memories? When did we first, all that stuff. And then of course, the sales and all that kind of stuff. We do those episodes too. We've done several different kinds of stuff. Several ideas that maybe sounded better in theory. But then, like I came up with this cool idea once. We only ever did one, and I didn't like how it came off. Because we were going to do this thing called the Gamers Court, where we're going to pick a thing and we're both going to defend each side of it. Well, in order to do that, we need to have a judge, and we didn't have a third. So it ended up me doing impressions, and it ended up being some stupid, like me versus myself, Vita versus the 3DS, and it sounded better in my head than what it came out. But, dude, we have been doing this for a while, and quite literally, as we said, what you hear on the podcast is what we talk about anyway. We just hit that record button and put it out there. And yeah, that is the basis of it. I'm like, after podcasting for so long, this is the topic. This is my niche to talk about in a podcast platform. And I found it, and I found my partner right there where we just talk all the time about it anyway. It's so easy for us, and we have such of a chemistry where we slip into caricatures of people that we may have played a certain Mass Effect Online,
which we still need.
We need to do stuff with that.
We had this whole.
Oh man, we played Mass Effect multiplayer, Mass Effect 3 multiplayer with these guys, and if you ever randomly hear us go into really stereotypical Southern accent. And it's not even, I'm not even sure if it's stereotypical because Mike does the best impression this guy I've ever heard that nobody else has ever heard. And it is just, if you ever hear that and we just do it once and here and there and we never explain it, it's like an inside joke that we just roll with.
Nice.
Hey, Branden.
So now, just like you, I've been podcasting for a few years. This is like my second show that I want to turn to a network. But one of the things that always gets me is when I put a show out and then someone comes up to me and say, "Hey, I listened to your show." You get that weird feeling like, is it going to be good or bad or whatever? How did you guys feel when you guys first posted your first episode, and how people how'd you feel when they first came to you and hey, I listened to your show, is either good or bad? How did that make you feel?
Oh, dude, it feels great every single time that someone interacts at all. Whether it's online, in person, it is it almost takes you back when you meet somebody in person. It's like, oh, dude, you're the guy from the Game Addicts podcast, and I've only ever had that maybe once around here, and it stopped me, and I went, yeah, I am, aren't I? How you doing? Yeah.
Right.
But
didn't see that coming. Yeah. Mike, have you ever got someone run into you?
No, not like that. A lot of the people that listen, that really interact with us, are actually our friends from work, or people I've known one of the guys that comments a lot since he was 15. So I've never had that.
Okay.
Specifically, where somebody's walked up to me and said, "Hey, you're that guy."
I'm still waiting for it too, Mike. No one has came up to me yet. They know me "Hey, you're Jeremy. You're that gamer guy," but not "Oh, I didn't know you do a podcast too." Or I never,
Yeah.
But Jaron, do you have any questions before I continue on, or you want me to keep doing all the work?
You're
that's
breaking
our
our dance
joke.
moves.
Right.
No, I'd like to see how much can you lift.
Okay.
But no, I actually was looking through. By the way, I went ahead and subscribed, so I'm following you guys on Podbean now.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'm wondering why just a podcast. I mean, you guys also got into Twitch. I mean, what inspired you to shift from podcast to Twitch?
Well, when you see a lot of podcasts in general, the podcasting platform, I love it because literally quite anybody who has a phone, can literally sit down and start voicing their opinion and put their voice out there. I love that. And I love the ability to be able to do that. But then you also see overlap. You also see people who do live streaming, who live stream their show and interact with their audience in that. And so we've had a lot of luck on Podbean and have quite a few followers on there. And the thing for me was like, well, let's try and we have this audience here that people listen to us. We're trying to grow that as well. Let's go over here and let's grab them and let's go. Let's live stream if we can on Facebook and interact with more of those guys. And then we just started streaming out to Mixer and on YouTube. And it's like, let's try and grab some more people, grab some more faces, and let them see what we're doing. And then as far as that goes, we had been talking about extending the podcast into that platform for probably a year and a half before we really finally did it.
Yeah.
And it finally happened. We put our, I remember Mike took a break last year, and one of our very, very great friends, I'm gonna drop him out, Tyler McLaughlin. He helped us out so much. If you ever think there's a third guy, if there's ever is a player 3 for us, it's that. He's our player 3.
Okay.
He's our
okay.
He's our boy. And during that time, we got back together. Finally, me and him, first time maybe 2 months, finally recording together. And we were doing cameras. I had my audio stuff, and then I lined that out into a camera. We were just doing YouTube videos, YouTube video version of the podcast. For people who want to look at our sexy faces, there it is. And I didn't bring it, and Mike's like, "No camera, no lights," and I'm like, "No. I want to start streaming, and if I bring that stuff, that's a stopgap, and we're never going to aspire to it. We're always going to be like, well, we have that. That's good enough. No, I want that live interaction, whether it's like somebody – we've had a few people troll us. We've had some really weird interactions. We had it – Mike, do you remember that one dude who ended up like messaging or on there once and just started asking us like really odd questions?
The guy that was asking, you don't want to know how to improve your stream and –
he was just like, hey, I just popped in, and if you want to know how to improve your stream, I can give you some pointers. And we're just like, okay, man, feel free to email us. We're not going to talk about it live on the air. We're doing a show. We have a podcast. We have topics. We are going to, we have to go to bed at some point tonight. We're not going to stop the show mid-stride. I mean, it's one thing to interact a little bit with a comment here and there. Somebody has something they want to throw in. That's always fun. But to stop the show for that, it's like I didn't know how to react, just.
And he was mainly political. Like a lot of his stuff was like.
Oh yeah, we looked him up, didn't we?
He was all political. It's like you really don't even know the formula for like our specific show, like
right.
gaming. So you got to do specific. You got to do news. You got to do this. I mean, that's what you do. And he's like, well, I'll give you pointers. And we watched it, and it's like. All he did was rant.
No.
Okay.
No, thank you.
He just like picked a random topic and rant.
No, thank you. Next.
So, what's the next thing for Game Addict? Like, what's the next step for you guys? Are you guys planning to maybe do like Let's Plays in the future? Are you guys gonna do another show connected to this with another person? Like, what is the next goal? Or the next step for Game Addict?
Well, the next step for us is probably to do. I've done some Let's Plays. Like I said, I've been doing that with Mass Effect, and really, it's difficult for me to take a brand new game and sit there. Like I remember, I did it maybe for when Spider-Man came out or Red Dead 2 came out, where I just kind of like for the first 6 hours, not even that, maybe first couple hours, where I just sat there and just almost gave like a reaction to it, because I always feel weird when I'm gaming like that, because I'm just sitting there like this going.
Yeah, like you're super quiet. You're super quiet. You're trying to focus.
Because you're a gamer. That's what you're doing.
Yeah,
right.
So for me, a lot of the times when I'm going to do it, I try to pick a game that I can talk about. Well, I did the first 2 Metal Gear Solids. I need to do the others at some point. I did The Last of Us. And now I'm doing Mass Effect. That's something that instead of just playing along, starting off on Twitch, starting off streaming, no one's watching you. But if someone tunes in and you're just sitting there being quiet, waiting for them to interact with you, you're not going to get anybody to stick around. So I want something that I can stop just for a second and talk about something that I'm into the lore, something that I'm into the minutia of what's going on, I can just take a step back and comment. And that's what I've been doing. I would love to do that.
It's almost like podcasting and gaming at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is sort of like the stopgap. You know, me and Mike, there was an episode of The Last of Us where I said, hey, I'm coming over. Let's live stream this part together, and we'll play it together. And we did that. And I would love to do that more with Mike and get together and more specifically, make him play games he should have played already.
I want to hear it.
We always have that one person. We always have that one person. Like, dude, you got to fill out this bucket list, man.
That is that definitely I should have played. Like, I have not played the Uncharted yet.
No, look at it this way. You're in for a treat. You get to experience for the first time what we've experienced and the highs and lows. I try and look at it that way.
And they get like the best edition. He gets the trilogy when he starts out.
Yeah.
He didn't have to play one by one back in the day, paying $60 each.
You got $20 for the trilogy, $20 for 4, and like $25 for the side story.
Right. Have you seen the Kingdom Hearts collection? My God. Like,
Exactly.
That's perfect for whoever wants to start out now.
Yes.
Man. So, now I do this with every guest. I have to do this for y'all too. So I need you guys to give me 3 games that you personally love, no ranking, and then what do you think is your favorite console of all time?
Oh,
Branden, what do you go first for us?
3 games, no order or anything like that.
No order. Just 3 games you like. It could be anything. They're not your like number 1, number 2, or number 3 of all time.
Okay.
Just give me 3 video games you like.
Chrono Trigger.
Okay.
Love Chrono
All right.
Trigger. That for me, that is such an easy answer when somebody says favorite. That is a game that I slept on when I was younger, and played it later on the DS, and was like, "What have I? I've been missing this my entire. Where has this been?"
Did you play Chrono Cross maybe before Chrono Trigger?
No. I knew about it, and I was like, well, I don't think they're directly related. But, I tried playing Trigger back on the PS1 when it was in the FF4 bundle, and couldn't get into it then. But it was like, no, I've heard this game is amazing. I need to give this another shot. So, Chrono Trigger.
Okay.
I shouldn't cheat.
That's what I'm doing. I'm looking over here.
Nope.
Hey, no. You're okay. Take your time. I got editing powers.
Exactly, right? The power of editing. This never happened.
Right.
Snake Eater. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You're one of the first people I met on my show that says Snake Eater up there.
Most
Most people go with 1.
It was a good game. Snake Eater, I really like that game like that. I want to replay that game, actually, just talking about it.
How can you hate the intro? The music sounds like a James Bond theme.
Exactly. The whole 60s. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, man. Snake, and the whole story by itself. I mean, yeah, Kojima does his weirdness with the bosses, but it's still a good, cohesive. It did hit me in the feels a little bit.
Speaking of fields, man, I hate that guy. You have to fight in the field, like in the jungle kind of thing, because like I was crawling one time and he walked up to me. I'm talking about the old man. I forgot. Yeah, the inn. Yeah, he came up to me. Like I kid you not. I don't know if maybe I'm the only one that got it, but he came up and he was to say a smart line and then he shot you.
Oh yeah, no. You just gotta wait for him to die. That's how I beat it. I waited for him to die.
Right.
I was like, you were one long Seinfeld episode away from death.
But Branden, why Snake Eater for you? Those same reasons, or did you find something else different?
I love the twists and turns. Like as with the Kojima story, especially some of the Metal Gears, it takes you on such a ride. I love Metal Gear Solid 1, and trust me, it's hard to pick between those two. 1 was first. It always will be first. It was one of the first games that really grabbed my attention as far as like gripping me. I remember staying up late and like it was right near the end, right when you find out that Naomi betrayed you and that Liquid is master the whole time, and I'm just like, I'm not turning this game off till I beat it. I'm not going to bed.
Right.
I can't now. No, this son of a bitch has got to pay. And
right. Don't you wish that Konami and Nintendo would play nice and give us, the Twin Snakes edition on that Switch?
You know what? Some people don't like how over the top some of the stuff in Twin Snakes is, and I will agree it is, but I love it. It's over the top in like the most loving way. If you're a Metal Gear Solid fan, it does make some of the gameplay a little easier. Like the Ocelot fight is way easier, but that the fact that we get to see, and one can make an argument: is it better to just hear it or see the Gray Fox hallway scene?
Right.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that scene is so great. They replicated it in Star Wars Rogue One with Darth Vader. So,
okay. And you gotta give me one more.
Link to the Past.
That's my favorite Zelda game of all time. Yeah. Okay. All right. So why that particular Zelda out of all the other ones, including Breath of the Wild?
Okay, so Breath of the Wild's great. Loved it. Absolutely loved Breath of the Wild. I feel like Link to the Past, that of course going in order of 1 and then 2 is completely different beast. It doesn't feel the same. And you go back, and then you get to Link to the Past, and it's like it's the first one again, except now it almost feels like a true sequel to that. Like as far as in terms of gameplay, in terms of everything, and then it has so much lasting power. Where I also love Ocarina of Time, but I feel like Ocarina of Time sometimes is hard to go back to in terms of visual fidelity, and like the gameplay feels a little clunky. There's not much about this game feels clunky. It was built to last.
Okay. Do you need to sit on your favorite console so far while I go to Mike, or do you think you have an idea?
It's very, I could easily say the Super Nintendo, but I'm probably going to have to go with the PS1. That is my largest collection of games.
Okay.
And I think I've had 140 just for that. And dude, it at one point, not anymore. It's starting to since nostalgia, getting into that 20-year gap. The prices I've seen in bigger cities are starting to go up for some of the games that were just a few dollars like 5 years ago. But I started with that, started massing them up. That was like, Super Nintendo was the first console I ever owned, not played, but owned as a kid. And then I had a Genesis, but then the next one, it was like I was on that cusp, N64, PS1. All my friends are getting PS4s, N64s. And I'll play those at their house. Let me try this one. And then I went nose deep and engulfed myself into that system. I had, rented so many games back in the glory days of renting games, and my dad would, I think he had a friend at his work that was selling a lot of his stuff off. So he would come home every couple of weeks with a stack of games, some of them were awesome games, like, Final Fantasy 7, Twisted Metal 2. Other ones were not so great, like Andretti Racing and, Soviet Strike. But I had games and I love the PS1. You can almost cheat and say the PlayStation 2 because it's reverse compatible, but I don't want to do that. I'm thinking of, in my mind, what is the glory days of my gaming, and it's got to be the PS1.
All right. But it does sound like his collection is better than the PlayStation collection that came out, the little console one. So, moving on.
Oh, boy. A garage sale has a better collection.
Right. Yes. Mike. What 3 games, man? Give me your 3 games.
Super Metroid.
Beautiful.
That is one game that I cannot. I just one day I'm looking around the house. That's what I want to do, and I'll stop whatever I'm doing and play that all the way through one sit. And then, I don't know. I love the concept of Super Metroid and how it's developed over time.
Now,
really,
would you
anxious for the new one? Would
you compare? What do you think of Zero Mission? Do you think that's a good follow-up to Super Metroid? Not story-wise, just out of the structure. You can tell that Zero Mission took a lot from Super Metroid on, kind of revision, remaster it, or remake, I guess you can say, for that one.
That one pretty much remade the original Metroid, Zero Mission, because it is the original. But, yeah, I loved it. It took the exact same formula, and it kind of improved on it, but it also added that one segment.
The outer suit, the one that's annoying. Everybody doesn't like the outer suit Samus part. Yeah,
that's the only part I was iffy on, but it's very short. So outside of that, I think they did great.
I think Fusion does not get a lot of respect. I think Fusion was really good in his own way.
That's one of my favorites, Fusion.
Yeah.
I'm about to sound like that guy, but I have never been able to get too deep into a Metroid game. The deepest has been maybe Metroid Prime.
Oh, buddy, it's like Castlevania. I think they call it Metrovania. I think that's what it's
Yeah.
called, right? I think
Metroid kind of started the Metrovania, and then Castlevania made it better, and then Metroid made it even better, and then Castlevania made it even better. So
They were
kinda
definitely
bouncing
competing.
off each other.
Yeah. I it is on my list to go back and play Metroid, Super Metroid, and maybe eventually work my way up to trying the GBA game.
That would be a hell of a collection. That would be-
Stay away from the first. If you're gonna start off on Super Metroid.
Really
Because
is
the
Metroid
first
too
one
much
is
of a slog?
hard. The first one is hard to get through because some of the tunnels are like 5 minutes to get to the next door.
Now, are you talking about the old school one, or are you talking about
Yeah,
the
he's
remake?
talking
Oh,
about
okay.
Original Metroid for
Okay.
NES.
Do you prefer which? Do you think the remake is better? Do you think they did a big improvement
On
of the
Zero?
second one? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Zero.
Oh yeah.
The one on the 3DS, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you're
Fusion.
talking about 2. That's Metroid 2.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Samus's Return.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one's really good. I enjoy them both really well, but that one they added new stuff, new features. So for me, it's like
That counter system and stuff.
Yeah, they're trying to add upon what's already great, and I
And
was
it's
fine
so
with it.
funny. It's funny because it's Mercury Stream. The people that did the Castlevania did this one. Oh, like
Yeah.
yeah. So it's so funny. They literally did a Metroidvania. Like that's
great.
hilarious.
Yeah, I think I'll have earned the right to get the 3DS because I have that amiibo behind you, the Metroid Samus Returns amiibo set.
Yeah.
But I never got the game. Maybe I'll reward myself once I beat Super Metroid.
Right. What's your third one, Mike?
That would be Link to the Past.
Oh, beautiful.
That was one of the
Beautiful.
first. Well, I mean, it's hard because between that and Super Mario 3, I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing you can say. It's.
I think World's better, but that's just one man's opinion.
There we go.
I like them both. I'm not opening that can of worms. But I did like 2 nights ago. I updated my Switch, and I was like, "Hey, I want to play," because I've been playing Super Mario Maker too, and it's been making me want to play Mario 3. And I was
Okay.
like, "All right, I'm gonna play it," and I sucked. And then make it past the 4th world, and I was like, "Okay, all right,
Woo!
this
Woo!
isn't gonna work."
Woo! Do I see a tear coming down? No, I'm just kidding.
A
I'm just-
little bit.
It's all right. Always bust out those whistles, those warp whistles.
See, I went through, I got the first one, and then I passed the second world, and I stopped, and I was like, "You dummy, you've skipped the other 2 whistles." But I want to play through each stage because I've actually never beat the giant world all the way through. I've had to whistle
Me
out.
neither.
Yeah.
Me neither. I liked it, but I never beat it.
I think I
can
never
never
beat
beat
the
it.
Ice World.
I got to that last castle before the big one, and I cannot beat the fire castle.
Favorite console so far?
That's the PS1.
Okay.
Really?
Okay.
It's
What, you don't see that collection over there? Just kidding.
I mean, he's got some
that
good ones.
era of gaming. It just the doors opened and everybody was putting out games. I mean, there was
Yeah.
so many games, and the thing is, you get lost in the amount of the volume of games. But if you take the time to pick through, there are a lot of games you look at and you go, "Well, I'm never going to play that," and then you play it, you're like, "Holy crap! Where was this at? Why was this not on any mainstream?" There's just there's so
Yeah.
many gems. There's so many games. You could literally sit down and play through all of them, and you can find so many good games that really nobody played.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It was during that time. I agree. It's during that time when you could experiment. You could still experiment. You know, it was between like the 16-bit to the end of the 32-bit era. You could experiment. You could try new things. You could try this out, try that out. PS2 was like the world of sequels. Really.
And also, too, I think it was cheaper because since you were
Yes.
making them on discs, so it's cheaper to like experiment these ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like one that I always loved was Wild 9. I loved Wild 9.
Love Wild 9.
Yes, yes, and that gets next to no love, which is probably a good thing. Means it hasn't spiked in price yet. I need to go find it before someone mentions it on like a Hidden Gems video. Or something.
Right.
But yeah, I will say PS1 is up there.
Okay.
Is up there. I agree with you guys. Plus, I mean, come on, Final Fantasy 7.
Right. No, you're
I
right.
mean, that was such a. I don't know. It changed gaming for me. I mean, I played Super Mario. Wow.
64.
No.
RPG.
Oh.
Don't get me on this, Brandon. I know you're gonna get me on it on Monday. It's, Super Mario RPG.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I
yes.
started that. I actually got it, and I had no idea what it was, and I played a little bit of it, and I loved it. I played all the way through it, loved it, and then Final Fantasy VII. It kind of just became a distant memory because you had Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo is one of my top games also, and it just 7 came out, and all I saw was nothing but 7. Everybody's like 7, you got to play it, so I bought it, and it changed gaming for me forever.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. It made me realize I had to have a memory card with my.
But, some of these games that we mentioned might not be the games that we're going to be talking about later that changed the game. But before we even get to that topic, we got to take a break. And then when we come back, I got a surprise for our game addicts. And then we go into our main topic, certain video games that changed the industry and why everybody followed them. We'll be right back. Hey, thank you so much for listening to this episode as part of the In-Game Boss program, a network of gaming and other variety shows. And remember, you can find all these shows on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and Podbean. All you have to do is just follow and subscribe and enjoy all our other variety shows, like the In-Game Boss podcast, When Jeremy Met Nam and Finally Do a Movie podcast, Bond Never Dies, In the Cabinet Sessions. So thank you for listening. Enjoy the rest of the show. Welcome back to the In-Game Boss podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Evans, along with Jaron Williams.
Hey, what's up?
And Branden and Mike from Game Addicts.
What up, dudes?
Woo! So, game changing. I love game. I love games that change the game only because, to be honest with you, because when you see a game do so well and then you hear the next game come out, they're like, we're going to do exactly like them. And it's like, why? That excites me for some reason because it's like, why would you guys change your formula up to match with this formula, right?
Right. Yeah, you set the trend. You're a trend setter. You're going to get hangers on.
I guess. But before we even get into that, retro gaming and Game Addicts are big retro gaming people. But what's the last time you, I don't know, play a ninja game? Like, when's the last time you touch a ninja game? You know what I mean? Like,
touched one? Ooh.
Yeah, like, when's the last time you, throw a Shadow Blade at somebody at one point, you know? When's the last time you stealthed and snuck around and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, in a ninja game, it's been a while, but, I sneak around all the time.
Branden and Mike, what's the last time y'all touch a ninja game type?
Ninja game type? I don't know.
Yeah, man. Has it been a while?
Yeah, I mean, in the true, stealth style, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
no Tenchu.
Yeah,
no Tenchu.
No Tenchu.
Yeah.
I mean, in a more arcade setting, it's more just like ninjas kicking ass. I played the newer version, the remake of Strider a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
Well, guys, I like to bring you into a special segment that we do on our show called Baby Come Back. Baby Come Back. Any kind of fool can't see. All right. So, guys, the way it works is we pick a video game that has been gone for so long, and it should come back. Why should it come back? Are you laughing at me? My voice was phenomenal. No. Give me that Prince. I am a prince of gaming, okay? All right? I'm just kidding. No, that's too much. That's too much to live off of, right?
Oh, boy.
No, but let's talk about ninja games. There is 2 ninja games that have been rivals for the longest time, but they both have not came back for a new entry, and that's Ninja Gaiden and Shinobi.
Yep.
2 games that had been disappearing for so long, and they deserve to come back in some shape or form. Sega, they're all too busy making that Yakuza dough.
Yeah, the Yakuza, that Judgment,
And then, if I'm correct, Tecmo is bought by Koei, or Koei merged with them.
Yeah.
The people that did the Dynasty Warriors or any other franchise you care about, they put a Dynasty Warrior treatment on.
You got your Hayabusa in Dead or Alive. What more do you want?
Well, they did Neo. That's their last, that Dynasty Warriors. So, Neo and all this stuff. But, you would think, when are they going to do another Ninja Gaiden game? Or when is Sega going to do a Shinobi game? Guys, let me ask you this. I'm opening up in the pool. Is it time for some ninjas to come back into this mix? The show we still exist. You mentioned Sekiro.
They just had one. Didn't they? The Cinco or
Sekiro?
Sekiro, yeah.
Okay.
That one just came out. That's not too long ago, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was it this year or last year?
Yeah, it
It's-
came
it's
out
this
this
year.
year.
It's fall.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, is it time? I mean, yes, they open up Sekiro, but should that Sekiro be the game that's gonna hold the torch, or should Ninja Gaiden and Shinobi come back and say, nah, player, this is how real ninjas work?
Yeah, Musashi must return.
I
Right.
would like to see him come, but right now, I mean, you got Ghost of Tsushima. That's another one
Okay.
to look forward
Well, I
to.
mean, it's similar-esque. I mean, Samurai, yeah, but I mean, think about how much, just earlier we mentioned Bloodstained, and then about how popular retro style of games are right now. You could easily do a brand new game in the style of that is a spiritual successor. So anybody, any sort of indie developer can say, you know what, I love Ninja Gaiden, and I want to make the next best Ninja Gaiden game that is not called Ninja Gaiden.
Right. I guess you can say The Messenger is an example, because that's one of the spirit successors, I guess you can say, for that one, right,
Yeah.
Jaron?
It's on my wish list on the eShop.
But I guess I want more of like a 3D. After seeing Devil May Cry, Sekiro and all this stuff, like Ninja Gaiden and Shinobi can go in that direction in their own way.
Yes, I mean, they're tied down by a lot of lore, but I would love to see, Revenge of Shinobi. A lot of us probably remember that. I would love to see a Revenge of Shinobi type storyline in a secular world.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you like the PS2 ones? That in the spinoff Nightshade?
No. I'd rather
Okay.
drink vinegar straight. But no, those I gave Shinobi a try, the PS2 Shinobi a try, and I promptly put it down. Back in the heyday of Blockbuster when I could rent, I rented it and I took that back real fast. No late fees on that.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like Ninja Gaiden could come back in a great way. Tecmo, I think they're focused on Neo so much, but like I would think like Ninja Gaiden would be a good time just because Devil May Cry 5 came out, and that's doing phenomenal.
Yeah.
So like a Ninja Gaiden coming back for that. Shinobi be a little bit more trouble because Shinobi, like you said, for PS2 had a bit of an identity crisis. Like it didn't know what it wanted to be.
Yeah. But Sega was trying something new, but it sucked. But they tried. Ninja Gaiden, the when they brought it back on Xbox, and then Ninja Gaiden 2 on 360. Those are two of my favorites. I like the NES ones, but the 3D. That's how you could do
the
a 3D
Razor
game.
Edge edition of Ninja Gaiden was pretty bad because like you noticed like from the very first Ninja Gaiden Black or whatever was like straight hardcore hard.
Yeah.
Then what they wanted to do different in the second one was like dismember arms and everything like that. And then the third one was wanted to treat you how it feels to cut a person. So that's why like it was like when you cut somebody, like you had to like quick buttons events to like cut that person in half. Like I was like, you're going too far. Like bring it back.
That's Tecmo. We're
Right.
talking Tecmo Extreme Beach Volleyball Tecmo here.
So if I would bring those back, and I know it's kind of weird because we just talked about this, I actually would like to see a Shinobi Metroidvania style.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought that'd be kind of cool.
That
I
would be
mean,
really
you got
cool.
you got your castles you have to climb through, go travel around different parts of the kingdom. They could
Strider kind of did something like that with theirs. They did a Metroidvania style. Yeah.
I could see that. That would be fun. If it was designed right. It was design, controls, and pacing. That would be the biggest thing.
Yeah. What about you guys? Is there a different form of Ninja Gaiden or Shinobi you would like to see make its way back, or do you think now is not the time for it to come back?
Do you guys remember? And I thought like the concept was interesting. Maybe it wasn't really successfully pulled off with this, but Metal Gear Solid Rising, when they did the writing thing where you could actually like go in
Platinum.
and slice and dice and be precise with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to say that wasn't that Platinum Games that did that.
It was, yes.
I actually
Revengeance, I think it's called.
yes,
Yeah.
Revengeance.
Yeah.
Rising Revenge.
I
Yeah.
liked that a lot more than probably I should have. And I mean, I'm not going to sit here and like say that I love the story, but the gameplay was just fun.
It's a guilty pleasure, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you would like to see something like that where like you can use slow motion and then you could do like all these crazy moves.
It was over the top.
Yeah.
over
Yeah,
the
yeah.
top
Because that was 2 did. 2 was kind of like that where like you go around slicing everybody and then at the end you would like sheath your sword and then everybody got cut up. You can do something like that. That'd be kind of cool.
I mean, if it's cool, why change it? Go back to that well, make it bigger.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
What about you, Mikey Mike?
I would like to see a Ninja Gaiden kind of go open world, where you can just go take contracts, like kind of like Hitman, where you can do contracts and.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
It's almost like Mark
You're
of the
gonna bring it
Ninja, but
back.
like,
open world's kind of like the big theme right now. Everybody wants a game that's open world and makes you feel immersed into this world. Do something like that where you have like your temple or your home base, and you pick up contracts. People send you contracts, and you just sneak around and kill them. And the way you kill them kind of does what Cyberpunk's wanting to do, where how you kill them actually impacts your notoriety.
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, no, I could dig that. I mean, hell, they're making it work. Red Dead Redemption 2 and all these other open world games. I would like to actually see, that, or even Shinobi. You can even add different characters
Right.
Than the standard, because Hayabusa wouldn't take contracts, but another ninja would, and you'd have your story. Yeah, I like that.
I just hope if they do an idea like that, it has to be like the coolest way to kill somebody. You know what I mean? As a ninja. It has to be like kill somebody on the moving train going 100 miles per. I don't know, just something crazy.
I gotta cheat that and say then they need to incorporate some of the people who did Tenchu, because that had some really fun ways. Poison rice, throw a rope around their neck and jump and hang them from a different rafter when you're sneaking around in the darkness. So yeah,
would you want to add the elements to it? Like the elements you pick up, like the making the multiple shadows of yourself follow every step you make, or the fireball shield, or bigger shadow blades. Would we implement that in that idea, Mike? Would you?
I don't see why we couldn't. I mean, there's so much. The thing is this with the.
I'm sorry, are you
world,
making the
you
game?
can do whatever you want. I mean, in every situation. Nowadays, it's really fun because you've got an open world game. You got something like Red Dead, and they can add on to it randomly. Be like, hey guys, guess what? We're gonna do a new DLC for you, and it's a whole new segment, whole new missions, $10. I like to see.
I mean, they got Judgment.
Yeah.
You got Judgment. You got Yakuza. Of course, you could do open world with like combat. Like
Right.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'd be good.
All right.
We don't really have any super dedicated stealth games right now, do we? Like that's just stealth
Nope.
dedicated.
Perfect time for Tenchu to return. I don't know why I got such a hard on for Tenchu right now, but
I
it
think
was a fun
PlayStation's
game.
your favorite console because Tenchu was big on the
Ten-
PlayStation 1.
I like Tenchu 1, and then on the PlayStation 2, Tenchu Wrath of Heaven.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Those were my games, but that's because I was off that Metal Gear Solid.
Okay. All right. But to my listeners, if you think this game comes back, make sure to email me at theingameoffice@gmail.com, or we'll put it on Facebook and Twitter, and you tell us what your vision will be. We would love to hear which actually, I'm going to ask them, what ninja do you want to come back? Do you want Shinobi? Do you want, Ryu to come back, for Ninja Gaiden? So, game changing. We're back to the game changing. So, the way this is going to work is that all of us has about 2 or 3. We're going to start with 2, and depending on the time, we'll see if we can get to that third one. That's so good. That sounds good for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So for the listeners, we got this topic of game changing, and the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna pick a particular game, not a series. That one game that actually changed the game, because you can have a bunch of games in a series, but that one particular game in that series changed the whole formula for other people's stuff. So that's why when I I said pick that one game, that particular one in a series or solo, and you never got another continuation. I don't care. I just want that one that you honestly think. And there's a lot of games that changed the game. Mario changed the game his own way. Metroid changed the game his own way. Castlevania, Metal Gear, you name them. But it's crazy, right? Because you don't know until you look back at history and you're like, oh, I didn't know that actually influenced this, this, and this. Yeah. So it's really interesting. So that's why I really want to do this game segment, because I hope that we all learn something coming out of this. It's like, holy crap, I didn't put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
So, Branden, we're going to start you first, man. What is the particular game you think changed the game and industry where other games copied or implemented into their games?
Metal Gear Solid, and not for like the gameplay. Stealth, it inspired things like, like Siphon Filter and then Splinter Cell, same type of stealth, right, ish. But what I'm actually going for here is the cinematics and the voiceovers, because before this you had some really crappy even live action film
what a
stuff.
Mansion.
Yes, exactly. But Kojima really turn the cinematic level up, and it was one of the first games to really be on that level. And after that, that is something that has transcended even into today. Every single game that has been made in the last 20 years has, changed its storytelling to be a lot more cinematic. And, way back when, 20 years ago, back in 1998, nobody did it quite like the first Metal Gear Solid did.
Okay. For our listeners, what kind of example of games that kind of took that and put it in their games or copied? Any of those games come to mind?
Oh man, I mean, from right after that, I mean, you look at, like just like Mike was saying, like in the level in terms of quality, in terms of voice acting and anything like that, because you had Resident Evil that came out before that, and it was like they got the most D-list actors that they could possibly find that couldn't get work in commercials. And then here comes Metal Gear Solid, and they're bringing in actual real voice actors. Some of them were still just getting started in their careers, but then coming in after that, when you're looking at big games that came in, it goes right into it is like it spreads into Final Fantasy X, because Final Fantasy from before that were just text boxes, and all of a sudden now everything's a cutscene almost, and you have a lot more dialogue and a lot more spoken dialogue that then changes the meaning. And I remember old school Final Fantasies where, like, I would say Chocobo, he would say Chocobo, you wouldn't really know how to say it, and you'd be arguing about it, and then finally we heard somebody say it and said, all right, that's it.
It's like Titus and Titus.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ryu and Ryu.
Yeah, right. Mike, what's your pick, buddy?
Mine is going to be Grand Theft Auto 3.
That was on my list too. Yes.
It's hard to not put it on there because it's the first game, and me and Branden talked about this. It's the first game that really got that open world formula right. And today, that's almost every game. You're looking at almost every game has incorporated some form of that formula into their game today.
And especially where you can almost like they didn't hit it quite yet, but the point like you can go anywhere and do anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
you saw them refine that over the next 2 games on the PS2.
Right. And what I really like it was the fact that, and it got annoying, because fast travel didn't exist at the time per se, but it was cool that you got in a car and you had to drive all the way down somewhere to go accept a job. And I thought that was really cool. 'Cause a lot of games go to like you have to go this certain destination, pick this job up, and then go do your mission, and then maybe you have to come back to that point, right? And so, but we've seen that like for Saints Row. That's like a kind of like a similar, closest to like almost like a Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. I mean, especially Saints Row 2 and Saints Row the Third.
Jack and Dexter changed their whole formula to that.
Yes.
Yeah, after the first one. It's just, it's so, that's one example. They just said, no, we're going to do it open world like this. And so you have like Prototype, you have Infamous, I think you're right. It opened the doors to when the PS3 came. That's when all the open worlds
really
started
Driver
coming in.
Opened that door.
Driver, you're right.
It started it, but then as we talked about, because I was arguing, I was like, no, it's Driver. Driver started this. And he's like, yeah, but they didn't do it right. It was just, you could get out of the car, go into another one. You couldn't do anything else.
So Mike, you might say that Driver came up with it, but Grand Theft Auto really pushed it.
Yes. They did.
Okay.
They started to do, in that era, they did it right. Now, as you guys said, over the course of, the next two Grand Theft Auto games that came out, that's when it really, like San Andreas, really slammed it home, where it was just you could do whatever you wanted. You could go steal. I love San Andreas, but I've never played the story. I only go into Gran Turismo games.
That's normal for all gamers. They just want to go murder.
I just want to go. I literally would go and steal.
There's a story?
Steal something and see how high I could get my police stars, and then how long I could survive.
Now that's where you see a lot of games of like the star system in their own way.
Yep.
Yes.
Like how much trouble you can have before like the whole police
city just comes down.
Yeah, you see that with Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs definitely implement that in their stuff, and so
I agree. And Driver, yes, it tried, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yep.
I played that. I actually couldn't get past the first part. We had to do all those different driving maneuvers. That's a shameful moment in my gaming history. But I couldn't get past it because it wasn't intuitive. Yeah, you stole that one from my list. I got to mark that off my list
we
now.
had a couple. We
Yeah. Okay. All right. Jaron, well, he took yours. What you got?
All right, so I'm going to. I was going to go back to the 80s, but no, I'm going to go to the mid 90s, 96. So a lot of people want to say, Wolfenstein 3D or Doom. You got Doom clones. I want to say Quake, not only because it took what Doom did, put it in true 3D, but also it brought with it. You had your GameSpy services, you had your Quake for Windows. It made multiplayer. It was part and parcel of multiplayer gaming becoming easier. You didn't have to just do dial-up modem. You could join on a service and join a server of like 14 other people and play deathmatch or team deathmatch or capture the flag. You had all these mods like Team Fortress. Team Fortress originally for Quake, and it was. It had the OpenGL, the dynamic lighting. It did so many things, and it ended up spawning its own Quake clone, being a clone of another game, and then having its own Quake clone. So that was mine. That one is mine.
I never really thought of that because like Doom, it's what I think of.
Yeah, you think deathmatch, it was Doom, but
yeah,
Quake took that and just made it accessible to more people.
Which it makes sense for QuakeCon. So
Quake really
that makes a lot of
took
sense.
The multiplayer tournament, it made it. Like, we didn't have a first-person tournament anything until Quake. So they did a lot.
Okay, so for my pick, it's actually a tie, only because the first game started it, but I think the second game pushed it, kind of like Driver to Grand Theft Auto, except like the first one I'm going to mention, it continued in its own series, but I think the other series I'm talking about really pushed it. And the only reason why is because in January 11, 2005, we had Resident Evil 4.
Okay. And
then March 22nd, 2005, we had the God of War. And I think both games influenced the quick time events. And like Resident Evil did it in certain parts. Everybody knows the boulder scene, where or the famous the fight scene where it's all button, quick time events, right? But God of War implemented almost in everything you have. When you do a combo and you're about to finish someone off, you have to do it. You have to do a button combo. Basically all executions that Kratos does is a button event, like press the button really fast or quick buttons like that. And I think it opened the doors to a lot of games down the line. Like every game had that.
It made it more mainstream.
Yeah. And it's just so fascinating because now it just stopped. Like now it's done. Like people don't really do quick time events that much anymore. But I just remember it was everywhere. I remember like Star Wars, the one with
Episode 3.
No, the Dark Sith guy.
Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed did a lot of that. Infamous did it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You also said you saw a little bit in Uncharted later on. Only when you do like the hand-to-hand combat for a second.
And the reboot of Tomb Raider.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like, and I'm glad it kind of stopped because like it was everywhere and it kind of got annoying because it was trying to teach you like you should never you should never let go of your controller in any moment, and that kind of got annoying. But I'll let you guys decide. I don't know. I think God of War really pushed the button of opening that door for quick time events, or maybe you guys think it was Resident Evil 4 that implemented more. What do you guys think?
No, God of War was definitely the one that championed that easy. Like, yeah, as you said, it was in Resident Evil 4, but it was more so like tap this button really quick, and then it was over. It was almost like the first time you saw it, you're like, what do I do?
Right. If we have reaction videos of those clips, that is just all day.
Yeah.
R2, L2, what?
Right. Right.
But God of War, dude, that it took it to a whole new level. Just as you said, like it made it. It's almost they almost try to make it immersive to the point of like, or not only are you just smashing buttons and hitting and doing these combos, it's like, no, to beat this boss you have to do this, you have to do this. It's almost trying to make you feel like by pressing these buttons you're doing it yourself by grabbing those chains, almost in a kind of a way that like Quantum Dream did. Indigo Prophecy, Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and then Detroit, where everything's an interaction. It's meant to immerse you into that.
Yeah. I remember because like when I first played God of War for the first time, and I played the demo, back in the day when you got discs in demo disc, right? And I remember when you fought the Hydra. And you stuck your blades in them, and then you throw them to the left and to the right, and that was fascinating because you had the quick time events in that, and it was like, holy crap! And like they really make you feel good when you did those buttons. Like when you press circle, like it ain't no like just a punch. It's like no, you stabbed them really hard in the face.
Yeah, it's awesome. Everything you do, it makes it feel like everything you do is epic. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, Branden, you're up again.
Dragon Warrior.
Oh, okay. I got to hear
really?
this one.
The first one.
Yeah, first Dragon Warrior. And what I'm thinking of is, what was a direct response to that? And it was Final Fantasy, the original Final Fantasy. Dragon Warrior, the original one, kind of sparked off that menu turn-based RPG. When you had your map and you had your arena battles, you're going around, you have a little map, you have your enemy, and then you're like, all right, I pick attack. And then Final Fantasy would go and do that. And how many other games for that, mid 80s to going in, we still have even some today that are still turn-based. I mean, just look at Pokemon. But like it would influence so many different games, and they're almost way too many to list. Every RPG would then, because that really brought like your tabletop RPGs and your dice rolling to your console.
I never really thought of that, really.
Yeah.
Because I always thought Final Fantasy felt more like it was the first one to me that opened that door. But what year was Dragon Warrior, the first one? I'm not 100% sure on that. Look that up, Jaron. For my knowledge, I just never knew when that came out. Because my first time with Dragon Quest, not Dragon Warriors, but Dragon Quest for me was not until I think 6 or 7.
It was 1986, May 27, 1986.
Okay.
And I think Final Fantasy was 1987.
Okay.
Yeah, the first.
I will
Final Fantasy
say,
was 1987.
if I on the battle system, like he was mentioning, like Dragon Warrior to me setup was way better than Final Fantasy 1, because like you had like all your characters all lined up on the side and they barely moved and everything like that. But at least in Dragon Quest, you saw your enemies and then like if you hit them, you kind of see a slash, which I prefer more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
and actually, to not to forget the other turn-based, because you mentioned other turn-based, Phantasy Star on the Master System.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm trying to remember that originally came out. Let's see, 1987. Okay.
they looked at Dragon Warrior probably.
It came out the same year as same month as Final Fantasy.
Dang.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, same month.
And it's so interesting because you're right. Even like to this day, Dragon Quest still sticks to their guns of the traditional style, and all they do is kind of polish certain things in there. But it's becoming a lot of people's favorites in their first entries and stuff like that. And so that was a good pick, Branden. Yeah. Mike, what you got?
Metroid. It's
Metroid. I
yeah.
knew someone was going to say it for the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of the ones that we and him discussed to pick have already been picked. I mean, Quake was one of the ones I didn't think anyone would say. Because I'm a big multiplayer. So
Okay.
But no, the item recovery based progression. It just it sparked a lot of other games.
Okay.
Right on. You can't have Metroidvania without Metroid.
Right. I always just love the fact that you go collect something to be more awesome, right?
Yeah.
Or you have to collect something to go figure out this puzzle that you could not figure out.
That's what
Yeah.
I like.
And a lot of games do it in their own
going
ways.
Back and forth. It's you get to go over here and you go to this area and you get the grapple. Well, now it unlocks an entire other area for you, just that one item. So you have to traverse back through it, and you find the little secret items hidden because now you have that item. I like that style of game. It's always something I'm drawn to.
And it's interesting too because like a lot of games, it's tough, right? You play a lot of Metroidvania games, but it's hard to pin those. Like if you can give me your top 5, it's gonna be tough because you have to pick the ones that like, does that really feel Metroidvania or Metroid in general, or you're almost there, but I don't like you did this. It's really hard now because everybody's doing it,
and
even in the
and not
3D
even
games.
to
You could
pick
say
Metroid and Castlevania to just go outside of those two because I mean Metroidvania, they both really worked each other to make it what it is today. You can't really include those because those are the classics that really made it. Who's done it better?
Yeah, never mind those those web articles saying, "Oh, let's retire Metroidvania." Psh, get out of here
No.
with that.
Never.
You know what Metroidvania is. Anybody who knows Metroid or Castlevania knows what Metroidvania is.
Right. Brandon, any input is on that?
You hit it right on the head, man.
Okay. Awesome. Jaron,
Oh,
don't you dare say Castlevania.
Oh no, I'm going up. You can't say Metroidvania without Castlevania.
Right.
I'm gonna try and go outside the box again with Diablo.
Yes.
So,
okay.
I mean, think about it. Diablo, yes, okay, cool. Diablo 2 is where it hit its stride, but Diablo is where you started getting those Diablo clone games.
Yep.
You know, that third isometric view. You know, you even had it with Ultima Online. You know, you had a kind of isometric view. That kind of action RPG. You go your loots. You get your loot system.
Definitely the loot system is what I will always remember
Yes.
from Diablo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really,
And
that sparked World of Warcraft, which is one of the biggest games made.
Yeah, or at least financed it.
Yes.
So Diablo and Diablo 2.
You're right.
Yeah. I mean, there are people who are still playing Diablo 2 to this day, if not Diablo 3.
I still play 2 every once in a while.
Yeah, I like 2. I like the sorceress in 2, and I still like the wizard or the barbarian in 3. Or no, the monk in 3.
Necro all the way for 2.
I kind of got down on the necromancer as well. All the bone spells, the different, and the just resurrecting monster after monster, and just leaving a room and letting your monster take care of it.
Yeah, and see, and back in 2, you could continuously bump up those one skills, so you could literally have an entire screen where your computer would just stop and go, "All right, there's too much going on, dude. I can't keep up."
Yeah,
with
it's
you."
like, we get it. You got skeletons and skeletal mages, and they're great.
Yep.
So-
And then the Crusader.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Diablo 3. I mean, to some people, Diablo 3 wasn't even a good enough follow up to Diablo 2.
I don't think it was.
I don't know.
Honestly,
Do you think people are just holding on to that feeling more than anything?
Well, think of it. The gap between Diablo 2 and 3. It was many years. And by the time it came out, it's one of those things. The hype is too much. It's going to happen with Shenmue 2 or Shenmue 3. By the way, the hype is too much. And of course, but.
I think Shenmue is going to be Shenmue. You might if it's bad, I think that's what you're going to get out of a Shenmue. I like Shenmue, but I know what Shenmue is.
Yeah, speak about not active time battle, but quick time events.
Yep.
There's your Shenmue.
There you go. There you go. So you guys are kind of staying in the middle. I'm gonna for the newer kids out here. I'm gonna give them some games for the newer ones. Borderlands. I think Borderlands opened that door for a lot of the RPG and shooter game first merged together.
yeah.
Okay, Destinies and Anthems and stuff.
Yeah,
the
because you
shooter
never had a shooter game where numbers pop out of that person. Like, they're the ones that figured out how do you going to show hit points when you're shooting somebody. And Borderlands opened that door of I'm not going to say they're the first one that created the skill tree, but the leveling up in the skill tree for that was a brilliant way to implement that in the RPG games. And so, like you said, like Destiny uses that now. You can say, correct me if wrong, does Anthem had that kind of style? I mean, like, do you get points when you shoot somebody? Well, do numbers come up or anything like that?
I think it's an option.
It's an option?
Maybe
Okay.
I'm thinking of Division.
Rolling damage.
Okay.
dice.
Division. Yeah, Division is a good example of that. But they're the first ones that really try to take a chance on something where at first when you look at that game's like, this game does not look good. But once you get your hands on it, it was rough around the edges. 2 definitely improved on a lot of stuff. But 1, I think, really pushed that button.
And it was a game you could play with friends. That was the biggest thing. You
That
played with
was.
friends.
Yeah, 4-player co-op through the whole game, not like a special mode like back in the old days of multiplayer.
Perfect Dark.
Yeah, right. And so what do you guys think? Do you guys think Borderlands did a big influence to shooter games when it comes to RPG style like that?
You can definitely take it back to that for sure, especially with how much of a, I dare say, fad it has become to become an online, multiplayer shooter with RPG elements, just as the ones you said, with the Division and then with Bungie's the Destiny, yes. Brain fart there for a second. But no, dude, you can definitely, harken back to when that started, and it wasn't necessarily you didn't have that, big huge hub world where like a whole bunch of people came in. It was just like you and your buds going, trekking through the story of the game, and loot, so much loot. You just saw you kill people, just like boom, 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 boom. There's so much stuff, and everybody raced.
That I would say Diablo influenced that too. Borderlands.
It's like, oh, I killed the butcher. Oh, look at all these cool things that came out.
Right, and then I guess I would say, since we're mentioning like playing with your friends, I think that did open the door of 4 players really going on an adventure together in a shooter. There wasn't a lot of 4-player co-op shooter games at that time. Yeah. And maybe Halo did a little bit of it. I think it was Halo 2 or Halo 3 they started.
Halo 3 that did the 4-player, Halo 2 that did the 2-player.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So
yeah, but Halo 3, those good memories. After work, get home, get the guys online on Xbox Live. Halo 3, it's like we got the weekend. It's Friday night. We're finishing through this game. None of us got dates. All right, we're plowing through this game.
Mine was Halo 2. I was actually deployed to Iraq, and we had basically cobbled up a LAN party between all of our tents. And you could literally walk in our area and look up, and then all you saw was Cat 5 cable everywhere. There's cable everywhere. And we all linked up together, and we just sit in because we all were in like one big tent. And we had a couple of different tents. And basically, me and the guy that slept in my little area with me, we would just sit there and play all night. And we just all link up and play LAN party.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. Multiplayer, that was not, so that's a whole different.
Yeah, and that was one of the games that, deathmatch was just as good as the story, which was just as good as the co-op.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm good for one more for everybody. So give me your best one, and then from there we'll have to wrap it up. So Branden, bring us home, man. What's your last pick?
Resident Evil 1.
Okay.
Bringing in the survival horror, because that game came out. And I mean, it as we said earlier, it's funny. It's laughably bad, so bad it's good.
It's campy.
But then you also have like this, they took that sort of gameplay where you had to slowly make your way. It was almost like a big 3D Metroid in a way, where you had to like, okay, I can't go over here yet, so let's go all the way over here and get this item progression. But then you throw in your limited supplies, your atmosphere. That would influence like games like Silent Hill, Alone in the Dark, so on and there forth. So like even to a different degree, like you saw like Parasite Eve come out, and it had kind of like a weird control scheme, and then pretty similar. And then of course also from Capcom, Dino Crisis was pretty much the copy paste.
Yeah.
But it just like it started something there, and then
Alone in the Dark is a good one too.
Yeah, it just also Fatal Frame was another one from the time.
Yeah.
Clock Tower.
But
it
all started with that original Resident Evil, which is a remake of an NES game that I'm trying to remember, something Mansion.
Sweet Home. That's what it is.
Sweet Home. Yeah. Yes, thank you. But it started off as that, and then it became that. Of course, then you had the original Resident Evil, right? Okay, cool. And then they're like, okay, all those ideas that we came up with, let's turn this up to 11, and then they released Resident Evil 2.
Branden, would you say also they also brought in the tank controls?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, Resident Evil with that tank controls.
It was a necessary evil considering what they were doing, I guess.
Yeah, I just wish everybody would take that tank controls too. I was like, it wasn't an improvement, guys. So thank goodness, like the remake of the second one kind of modernized it. So that's awesome.
Oh man, yeah, that remake. Very few games get me to try and 100% it. The remake is one of them I'm trying to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right there, RPG.
Nice. Mike, last one, buddy. What you got for us?
Oh man, I don't. I everything is taken on my list of 8.
Oh. Oh, okay. All right.
The only one I could do is Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
But
that did open the door for a lot of 3D games and the
3D
got a lot of people into JRPGs.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last one I have on our list.
Okay. All right. Jaron, bring us what you got. What you got left?
Oh man. All right. So I'm going back.
You always go back.
I have to. I got to go with Tetris, 1984 Tetris. Now, the thing is, there are puzzle games, but that was the puzzle game. And take your stories about how it got over here and how Nintendo and all the rights got passed around. But on the PC, it got people who didn't normally play video games to play video games. And then when Nintendo, packaged their Game Boy with Tetris, that got everybody, people who didn't consider themselves
Almost took a plane down.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, people who didn't. Yeah, right. People didn't play video games, as they would call it. They were playing Tetris. It was easy to pick up, hard to put down. And I mean, it was such a trendsetter. Even their sequel, Wetris, nobody even cared about it.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because I look at Tetris as it opened the door for a lot of people to try to outdo Tetris.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Dr. Mario came. You had Dr. Robotnik Mean Bean Machine, which is my favorite.
Puyo.
Yeah, Column, which I hate Column. I found out the other day I played it. I'm like, that's a terrible game.
It is.
I don't care what anybody says.
Super
Column
puzzle,
is terrible.
Super Puzzle Fighter. I mean, the fact remains Tetris is still around to this day. What was last year? What, Tetris Effect?
Tetris 99.
Tetris 99, yes.
Yes.
Tetris 99 on the Switch, and then Tetris Effect on the PlayStation 4 and the PSVR and stuff. Tetris is eternal. Tetris is not going away.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right,
about
because I think a lot of games somehow they still do it their own way, but it's still the format of bringing something down from the top to the bottom, and hopefully you don't die from having all your stuff reach to the top.
Think about what it's done for phone games. How many phone games do you see that are basically Tetris clones?
TI 83 Plus calculator game.
Oh man,
That's
some days. That is some days. So I have a couple here, but there's one we haven't talked about. I think we need to talk about it. But I had Arkham Asylum because I think Arkham Asylum opened up the door of how fighting among group fights, all that stuff really opened that door. And then I had Dark Souls. Dark Souls influence it's now become his own genre. It is. It is. People say it's a Dark Soul game
It's become its level of difficulty. Oh, it's Dark Souls hard.
Yeah, exactly. But the one we need to talk about, and it was talking about we were talking about Apex Legends. I have to say I want to say what we agree is PUBG or Fortnite that really blew up the door of battle royales.
PUBG started it. Fortnite made it super famous.
Okay, because I think that's where we're at. We're still going a little strong. It's coming down a little bit, but people still love it. But the battle royale is where the game changing is now, because people are implemented into their own games. I mean, Call of Duty now put in their games Blackout.
Yep.
You have Firestorm with Battlefield now.
Yeah, all 20 people who play it probably.
Right, but I even argue the fact. But when Quake and when Quake came out, everybody was trying to do the arena fighting thing.
Yeah.
So this is the next step up to that to me, and so. Any guys that got any input on Fortnite and PUBG for battle royales?
I could definitely see where Fortnite definitely got popular. It was so stylized. Where PUBG was very stiff and kind of had that Arma feel. At first time I saw it, I thought it was an Arma hack or
it was an Arma mod actually.
Was it a mod just like DayZ? Anyway, so I'm looking at that. I'm like, is this Arma something? And then it's like, oh, this is PUBG. I'm like, all right, what do you do here? Okay, so this and that survival thing, hunting people down, whatever. And then you see Fortnite, and it's the same deal, but it's so phenomenally different from that. On just a basically just how you can. I have actually sat there and watched. I've never played Fortnite, not once, and I probably never will. But I'm fascinated by how the streamers have a camera on them, a camera on their finger with their hands and their mouse and keypad, and they're hitting these buttons, and they're just boom, 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 doing all this stuff, and I
think it's phenomenal how fast people can build in that game.
Yes.
Jesus.
It's Minecraft. It's Minecraft plus deathmatch or battle royale.
And that is a game that was not originally a battle royale. It was like a tower. It's a tower defense game, kind of, right?
Horde defense for zombies.
Horde defense, right? And then they put that in and made it free to play, and then that's when they started booming.
And that's why it became the thing, because anybody could download it and play it.
And then everybody forgot. I don't even think anybody remembers what it used to be, other than the few of us that care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, hey, if you like our battle royale, you might like this game. Okay, nope, play the battle royale.
Right, because like you say, it's a horror mode, because you could say Gears of War influenced that. And Hordes, because Hordes to me was, when I think Hordes, I'm thinking Gears every time.
Okay, yeah.
Waves and everything of enemies.
Yeah, I always think of that.
The Mass Effect 3 multiplayer took influence from that. When they had, waves of enemies and you have objectives and then, go extract, so you, like, there's that. But then what Fortnite did was take that same basic thing that PUBG was doing and model it and shape it for everybody to where, kids may have been playing PUBG, but now kids are definitely drawn to Fortnite. I have a nephew, I go over there and visit, I haven't seen him in a long time. He's like 14 and, I've known him since he was born. And I'm like, he's sitting there playing Xbox One. I'm trying to connect with him on that level, right? Hey, man, what games you playing? All this kind of stuff. Here I am, like I got like a SNES emulator on my phone to keep me busy sometimes when I'm bored, that kind of stuff. And then I'm like, so what kind of games you play? I'm thinking, like, what is it? Like, any new games? Like, you're playing Red Dead? Are you doing this? He goes, and I remember deadpanned. He's just like, Fortnite and nothing but.
Oh man, yeah, that sounds almost identical to my niece. She's 15 and she is just on that Xbox One Fortnite.
Yeah, you could definitely say it did bring a younger crowd of gamers definitely to that game because of Fortnite.
It got all those teenagers out my PUBG. So
right.
Like 8 years ago, 10 years ago, that was the Minecraft craze. All those kids.
Yes.
Maybe even those same kids, but it's like a generational thing now. It's like nothing but Minecraft. And when you see on YouTube, nothing but Minecraft videos, Twitch, nothing but Minecraft. Now it's the Fortnite, and Apex kind of had its like shine in when it first came out. It kind of stole some of that limelight, but Fortnite is still sticking around strong.
Yes, yeah. It was PUBG, then Fortnite, and PUBG, then just Fortnite, and yeah. You can generally tell what the trend is by watching Twitch. What's the popular game on Twitch? But. Yeah, I wanted to throw in like just a brief honorable mention bonus.
Go ahead, 'cause we gotta get ready to wrap this.
Command and Conquer for real-time strategy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Without Command and Conquer, there'd be no StarCraft, no World of Warcraft.
I'll give you
no
that.
Warcraft. I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. All right, but we don't even know what the futures hold. With the new consoles coming out, close to next year. Yeah. We don't know what the next game is going to take the next stride to change the game industry and whatnot. So I'm excited for it. Maybe it'll be Cyberpunk. Yeah. We don't know. We really don't know. But I want to thank everybody for sitting here and listening to us. I want to thank Game Addicts for making the time to come on the show to chat with us. I really enjoyed your company and this topic and everything like that. But just for our listeners, can you tell them where they can find you?
Absolutely. You guys can check us out at GameAddicts.com. That is the Podbean page where you can listen to us right then and there. Of course, you can also check us out on every podcast platform that you can possibly think of. If we're not on your favorite one, reach out to us on our social media at Game Addicts Play to let us know. We're on everywhere from Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're pretty much everywhere that you could have possibly enjoyed your podcast. And, of course, we live stream the show pretty much every Wednesday at twitch.tv/GameAddictsPlay. And that stream is also on our Facebook page. It's now on our Mixer, same Game Addicts Play. And we're starting to reach out. And we finally got our YouTube stream figured out. I could not figure that thing out for months, but finally got it figured out.
What's the time on your Twitch they can come see you?
Okay, so typically the start time is between 4 and 6 Eastern. In the evening. It all depends on when we get off of work and when our lazy butts can get back here to start gearing up and getting everything all set up and ready to go, and whether or not he actually has his phone on him to answer my text, but hey, I'm ready. And then it's like half hour later, I'm on my way.
I got the watch.
Okay.
I don't have an excuse. All right?
Throwing that low-key shade.
All right?
Right. But yeah, definitely visit them, show your love, follow them, subscribe, tell them they're doing a great job, keep them motivated. That really helps us out. 5-star ratings, and that's the same thing with this show. We love to hear y'all's criticisms, ideas, concerns, anything you give it us to help us move forward to making our podcast better. And so with that, thank y'all so much, and we will catch you on our next episode.